Hello, everybody. I know it's been a while since I've done a movie review, since I've been rather busy with work, so I figured I'd do another one. And due to recent events that have occurred, especially with the recent train derailment that occurred in East Palestine, Ohio, I've decided to pull out a movie that, and my heart also does go out to many of the people that have been involved, had been affected by it. Myself included, because I actually live about almost an hour and a half away from East Palestine. So, first I decided to look into my movie library, and I decided to review this film, which is a film about an incident that almost did in fact occur. And it's actually based on real events that occurred too, and the film is Unstoppable. Unstoppable is an action disaster thriller that came out back in 2010, and it's actually based on real events. This movie, yeah, based on real events from 2001, in which a runaway train carried toxic chemicals, was barreling into populated areas, and it took a couple of train conductors to literally stop the thing before it could derail. So the movie basically is just like that. A pair of railroad workers ultimately tried to move a giant train off of its track to, to open up the track itself. But unfortunately, the one railroad worker decides to hop out of the train while it's in motion to try to throw the railroad switch to move the train off into another designated track. But unfortunately, when he does, the switch gear ultimately drops from neutral down from idle to basically right back into main power. So basically the thing just starts taking off down the track, and it begins to gain more speed as it goes along. And of course, the train has several cars that contain hazardous toxic chemicals that if the train derails, it could create a huge disaster that could be one of the worst in this nation's history. And ultimately, you get two train conductors, Denzel Washington and Chris Pine, who ultimately conduct a scheme to try to stop this train in any way they possibly can. And of course, as the train continues, there are numerous attempts to try to derail it. They even try to use a derailleur, a device that they actually put on the track to force the train off of the track. And they even tried to use another train to stop it from the front, but unfortunately that ends in horrific disaster as well. So, yeah, that's, like I said, that's pretty much it. I mean, the story itself of Unstoppable. And of course, the character development is really good. But if there is any one thing that this movie is really great at, it's just the suspense and the action. Although it says in the front here 100 minutes, but the back of the thing here says it's 98, I believe. Yeah. Sorry, give me a second. Oh my, jeez. I hate this focus thing. I don't know why it's acting up. 98 minutes. That's how long this movie is. But it's 98 minutes of just non-stop sheer intensity from beginning to end. Literally. Once that train starts taking off, the action and suspense never lets up. Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, this movie is just pure adrenaline rush from beginning to end. And of course, the two main leads are amazing. I mean, what a great star-studded cast of actors. I mean, Denzel Washington and Chris Pine. Denzel, who had worked with director Tony Scott for 4 of his movies, and Chris Pine, who had just come off of, well, at the time Unstoppable came out in 2010. That's the year after Chris Pine had just finished up the first Star Trek movie. So it already has the star power. And of course, the other cast members, Rosario Dawson. I'm surprised that Rosario, yeah, I don't know why, where's she on the back here? Because she too plays a prominent role in the movie. But overall, yeah, Tony Scott, the director, he is known for directing some high kinetic action thrill rides. And as I said, he worked with Denzel in the past. Some of Tony Scott's works include Top Gun, Days of Thunder, Crimson Tide, Enemy of the State, Man on Fire, Deja Vu, Taking a Pelham 123, which are some of the films that Denzel did with Tony Scott. Unfortunately, this was also Tony Scott's last film as director before his tragic death in 2012 when he sadly threw himself off of a bridge. Yeah, he committed suicide, unfortunately. But yeah, like I said, but honestly though, this actually was a great film for him to go out on as a final film in a director's career, because Unstoppable really was that much of an entertaining film. And like I said, doesn't let up. The movie was released in 2010 by 20th Century Fox, and the movie actually did enjoy a fairly moderate theatrical run. Not a big one, though, but still enough to satisfy any action hound of a fan. It had a budget somewhere between $85 to $100 million. The movie grossed worldwide about almost $168 million, so the movie was a moderate success. Moderate, I mean, not a big success, but a moderate one. But surprisingly, it actually got really good reviews by critics. The film was praised for its high kinetic action and use of incredible suspense. Rotten Tomatoes currently has it with an 87%, which is higher than what even I expected. But several noted filmmakers, including Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan, were both huge fans of the movie. In fact, Quentin Tarantino, who actually worked with Tony Scott in the past, Tony Scott directed True Romance, which Tarantino wrote the screenplay for, said that he actually called it one of the best films of the 2010s, and actually said it's one of the best final films by a director ever. One of the best. Christopher Nolan even cited The Unstoppable as a huge influence on his film Dunkirk, which he eventually made. Sorry. So, what else is there to say? Yeah, actually, before I get into the Blu-ray review, I should actually note that I myself was actually an extra in this movie. They actually filmed parts of the movie in Bellaire, Ohio, which is a town not far from where I live, believe it or not. And I actually was on the street corner when they filmed many of the... I actually was able to see the train with Denzel's stunt double running across, and my cousin was also an extra in the movie too as a fireman, and one of my coworkers was an extra in the movie as well. So, like I said, it's pretty amazing how, as I said, being an extra in the movie was pretty exciting, to say the least, even though I had to stay on a street corner for several hours, but still, getting involved with a movie, you know, no matter how it definitely felt kind of boring, believe it or not, but it actually is a lot of fun when you think about it, even though I never got the chance to meet Tony Scott in person, or any of the actors, but it was still a lot of fun to actually be an extra in the movie. And me and my cousin definitely had a lot of fun, although I kind of felt bad for him because he had to put on all the fireman gear and whatnot, so I did feel bad for him. But that is pretty impressive that I actually got to be an extra in this movie. It really is. The film, did it get any recognition, major recognition? Yeah, it actually did. It was nominated for one Academy Award for sound editing, which it ultimately lost to Inception. Speaking of Christopher Nolan, Inception won the Oscar against Unstoppable. But yeah, so yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the Blu-ray release. So, there's the Blu-ray for Unstoppable. It's pretty neat looking the way it is. Honestly, I think it says 2014, though. There is another Blu-ray that came out prior to that one, but it actually comes with both a Blu-ray and DVD copy. This is like a newer release of the film, but it does come with all the stuff. The video quality of the disc, the film is presented in 240x1 widescreen, and honestly, looks really good. Many parts of the film look fantastic, and there's parts where there's grain that appears, but I think it was done that way deliberately to give the film a grainy, very gritty look, which a movie of this quality actually kind of deserves, because, yeah, Tony Scott has an interesting directing style to his, to almost every movie he does. He gives like a real gritty look. And also, he tries to use as much realism as he possibly can and try to use as very little CGI as possible. A lot of filmmakers are actually trying to do that. Use as much practical stuff as they possibly can. So whenever you see the train literally wreck things, like crash through a train car or derail a train off the road or smash into vehicles, yeah, that's all for real. They actually derail the train for real in the movie. So it's pretty impressive. And yeah, some of the CGI, like for anybody that lived in Blair, Ohio for that elevated curve, like those like giant gas drum tanks that are at the bottom of that curve are actually not really there at all. Those were actually done with CGI. So, but anyway, back to the video. Honestly, the video quality looks really good. A lot of sharp detail, and it is kind of hard to focus on several things because the movie does have a kinetic, fast-paced feel. So it really is kind of hard to focus on a few things. But what you can focus on, however, you will get to see some good detail in the Blu-ray. So it's actually a pretty solid release. I would transfer. I would say out of 5 stars, 4.5 out of 5. As for the audio, oh man, the audio is a total killer without a doubt. It's presented in DTS 5.1, but there's also get Spanish and French Dolby Digital tracks, but they're not in DTS like the English track is. And honestly, the English track for Unstoppable, it is just pulse-pounding, to say the least. And as I said, the film picked up a sound editing nomination at the Oscars, and the audio definitely shows itself full force. Definitely a movie that will rock your speakers and give them a total workout. The dialogue comes out very well, the sound effects, the explosions, the crashes, just about every great sound effect you'll hear in the movie, it will come out everywhere. This is a loud movie. No complaints whatsoever with the audio. Out of 5 stars, solid 5 out of 5. Maybe I'd give it a 6 out of 5 if I give it higher than that, because that's how loud this movie is. As for the bonus features, well, we actually do get a nice supplemental package here. Not a big one, though, but it's pretty decent. Starting off, we get a pair of commentary tracks. There's one with Tony Scott as he talks about the movie. Now, the second commentary is listed as... Now, if you were to go under the Blu-ray menu, it would say, Tracking the Story, Unstoppable Script Development. Basically, it's a commentary with the director, Tony Scott, and with... writer Mark Baumbach, as they both talk about working on the script and developing it. Basically, this commentary is well worth listening to people who are budding writers who want to go into filmmaking. And Tony Scott definitely brings forth a wealth of information about the making of the film, and he talks about, you know, the true story that inspired the film. And basically working on the movie, getting all the angles right, working with the actors, talking about the basically even the location scouting. He talks and also how they developed many of the action scenes. So all in all, it's a fun pair of commentaries to listen to if you're a fan. The fastest track, Unleashing Unstoppable, is basically a half-hour documentary that goes deep into detail in the making of the film, and it's actually worth watching if you wish to know anything about the movie. Derailed, Anatomy of a Scene, obviously it's how they actually did many of the stunts for certain scenes in the film, especially with the train derailing and many others. Hanging Off the Train, stunt work, it's basically how they did the stunts in the movie with Chris Pine and Denzel stunt doubles. On the Rails with the director and cast, it's the cast and the director Tony Scott talking about the movie. So, yeah, like I said, it's not the biggest batch of supplemental material, but again, it's all about quality over quantity. And the extras are, like I said, they're actually worth, if you're ever looking about the making of the movie, that's actually not a bad batch of material to basically tell you everything you need to know about Unstoppable. I would say out of 5 stars for the extras, I would say 3.5 out of 5. Again, quality over quantity. And the quality of these extras are excellent. So, again, I'm not going to give an actual movie rating because I've decided to go beyond that. But I'm definitely going to say if you're in the mood for some insane popcorn-fueled entertainment, Unstoppable is definitely your ticket. This movie is just pure adrenaline from beginning to end. 98 minutes of nonstop pure intensity. And the Blu-ray is top-notch. The video is superb. The audio is just pulse-pounding. And the extras, while there's not a lot, they're definitely worth going through. So all in all, I would say Unstoppable is definitely well worth it. It's definitely a fun action film to check out. So, other than that, I don't really have much more to say, although I did mention that I was an extra in the movie, and I did mention that the film is based on real events. And I also mentioned that for some strange reason, because of the recent incident involving the East Palestine train derailment, for some reason I decided this movie just came to mind. And I decided to give it a go and talk about it. But again, I want to say my heart does go out to all the people that have been affected by the East Palestine incident, and I also hope that we can get through this as quick as we can. So all of you out there, I hope you take care, and I hope you be safe, and just try to do the best you can. Anyway, this concludes the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will continue to do more movies and reviews in the days to come, whenever I get a chance to, because my work schedule's been a bit hectic, but I can move around with that, and I'm gonna try to be more flexible with my movie reviews, because sometimes I feel like I've been putting out way too many of these at once. And again, I wish I could show some of the footage from the movie, but I don't have any licensing rights to show them, so the video of the film, so I wish I could, but this will suffice for now. And the Blu-ray of Unstoppable you can actually get pretty cheap online. So last I saw, you can get a used copy for like probably under $5. But if you can, it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. And my heart goes out to Tony Scott's family for, for anybody's family that choose to watch the video. And like I said, Unstoppable is great. And if you hadn't had a chance to check out some of Tony Scott's other films, definitely check some of his films out. They're actually a lot of fun. Especially Crimson Tide. If you haven't seen that, well worth it. I might do a review of it eventually, because that's actually a good one. Anyway, until then, everybody take care and be safe.